Okay, so I am going to do a video, and we're basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to go over support cards, what they do, how important they are, and then I'm going to go do essentially a run through of a career with essentially cards probably worse than what you'd actually start with, and sort of show what I would do in that situation, like things I've learned, ways to be more efficient, and we'll see how far we get. So basically, starting to the game, you are given 5 horse skills for free. So you're given gold chip, vodka, dark scarlet, haru, and bakushin. So you give them those 5, plus you get 1 free star same time. So I'm just going to do vodka purely because she's a short distance runner, so she does miles, right? And mediums. She's like somewhere in the middle where she's not too difficult and not too easy, because obviously Bakushin is probably one of the easiest horses to run because she only does sprints. You only need to train speed. But with someone like Dara Scarlet, she sometimes will need to do long races, which can be harder to do. And gold chip is actually hard. We're going to vodka. How it works is you select your girl, and there's ways to upgrade them as you get more star. Like you can upgrade their star levels. I don't even remember if vodka was a 2 or 1. So I think she's a 2. So as you upgrade their star levels with star points, you can get, I guess, like more stats, better ultimate skills, and you can also upgrade their potential, which is all it really does is give them access to other skill, like another skill, without discount, so it's not ideal. And going into it, we then have a choice of legacy. This is kind of like, it's a bit like actual horse breeding in a way, like these are the parents who give their skills and genetics down to them. So when you're first starting the game, you have access, they give you these 5 here, right? Which obviously are not going to be ideal. But to make this representative of like what to expect when you're first starting, I'm going to use one of these. I'm not going to go all the way down here and figure things out. But before we do, I'm going to explain something called affinity. So what affinity is it's basically, it's how well everything matches up. So the higher your affinity is, the higher chances of getting additional skills. So let's go down to the bottom, right? Let's go down here. So let's just look at this Rudolph. So you go to inspiration. So what happens is when you get inspired, you're guaranteed the blue inspiration. So you'll get some stamina, you get some speed, and then some more speed. And based on how well the affinity is, there's chance of getting all these other the pink ones, the green ones, and all the white ones. So it's all extra stats, free stats basically. So ideally you want to run characters where all the blue inspirations are 3 stars, as it gives you the most. So for example, I do actually have a free, essentially we call them 9 speed, as it means you have 3 3-star speeds. I do have a winning ticket, and that basically gives you, at the start of the career, you get 65 speed, and you'll usually get another 40 to 50 more twice. So essentially, if you have 2 9 speeds, you'll get like 300 speed for free for getting anything else. So lower affinity, like the worst option is the triangle. Then next up you have the circle, and for example there might be, I don't know if we can actually do this, we'll try. We'll have a look. And then you have a double circle, which is the best. And they're generally in a range where there's actually a number behind that, where you have to reach a certain threshold. I'm not 100% sure what affects your chances of the number itself or the actual symbol representing it. Like, are there different levels of this? I'm not entirely sure. I haven't really looked into it. But generally, you want to aim for the 3-star affinity. So how it works, so you can use any of your own horses. You can't use the same horses your career is going to be, and you can't use the same horse twice as like your first level, your actual legacy. But you can have the same horse repeated in your grandparents, effectively your grandparents. You can also, everyone you follow, and I think some people I'm not sure exactly how it works, but I think some people potentially in your club, it might just be people you follow actually, you can borrow their horses, right? So there's a bunch of horses you can follow as well. But they cost monies to use, and you can use them extra free each day. Yeah. So what we will do is we're gonna go. It's gonna go, and I think, and how other things work. So you get the blue ones always give you stats, but when you start out, for example, and by using with Dire Scarlet, we actually get who long goes to E because Dire Scarlet has it's a long and mile and pace tracer based on her legacies, right? And those are slightly influencing, so it makes Vodka's pace go to A and her long go to E. And there's areas of speed. It doesn't really matter what we're getting R, I guess, no matter what, but I think we just use action for the tiny bit of speed. This is probably not ideal, but hey. And then we're going to go over the skill cards now. Make a new one. So what you want to do is you essentially want to go through this list. You can essentially, usually, as you keep pressing this refresh button, eventually you'll start seeing people you haven't actually seen before. So for example, right now we've found someone who has a level 50 Citizen Black. Now, my recommendation is find someone with one of those, use them, and it will give you an opportunity to follow them afterwards. That way you always have quick access to their thing. So I can just go back, for loads. So I can probably go back to the ones I'm actually following as well. Where we choose theirs. Remove. So just go over and I'm actually following. Right, so you'll be able to easily find them and keep using the same card. And just to go over why this card's good. So with support cards, I think the best way to look at this, let's just look at on my own actually. Let's look at a Super Creek. So going to this, right, we level up. So as you get more copies of cards, right, you can uncap them a maximum of 4 times. So since you 5 copies of cards max them out, which for SSR means you can go to level 50 max. Golds will go to level 45, and the silvers or greys go to 40, I think. Right, so how this works, let's reselect this. Oh, I can't actually do this. This isn't going to work, but whereas on, I might, if I look at this, right? Look at this one card. I'm not actually going to level this up, right? Basically, how it is, you essentially, how they start off is each support card will have a few things unlocked, where as you get higher level, they'll slowly increase in their effectiveness. And as you reach milestones, for example, you go level 5, a bunch more for unlocked, level 10 more unlocked, etc., etc. So we can max out. So resource-wise, we'd only be able to get to level 35, but it unlocks most everything. But then you can also go we also see what it looked like in max, right? So golds and rainbows have something called a unique perk. So this increases skill points when training in initial wit. That thing isn't representative. The things this does isn't represented down here in this column, in this thing window, so it's on top of this. So for example, there's not any initial whip here, but yeah. So that one, you won't actually see that, but going back to what we want to look at, that's sort of how things work. So why Kitasan Blacks is good is she has something called special priority, which is 80%. But yeah, so why Kitasan's so black is she has something, a lot of the cards will have it, it's called special priority. And what that is, when they appear in the training facility, it increases the chance that they're actually on the associated race thing, the associated training ground. So for her, it's speed. So it increases the chance that she's actually on the speed place. So you're more reliably to get speed trainings with actual support cards on it, basically. So that's the main reason. She has 80 there, whatever. I don't actually know how that works, but then she also has an additional one here. And there's a bunch of other skills, right? So friendship bonus, basically, it increases, there's something called friendship training, which we'll go into later. That increases how much skills you get from friendship training. Mood effect increases the effects of moods on your training, which I'll go into later. Power bonus, so essentially whenever you're training with her, and one of the stats you gain is power, you get an extra one on top of whatever you normally get. Training effectiveness, this just is a straight, no matter the situation, it just, if you're training with her, your training goes up by 10%. Initial friendship gauge means like, in order to get friendship training, you have to be at more than 80% friendship, basically, out of 100. And she starts off already 35 towards the goal of 100, or 81 technically. Race bonus increases your stat you gain from races, which isn't a huge amount. And fan bonuses increases the fans you gain from races, which actually does come in a lot. Towards the end, once you actually have high level skill, like decently high leveled support cards, that actually applies a lot and is very helpful. Hint levels, or that is every now and then when you train with someone, there'll be a red exclamation mark above them, and they'll give you a hint, which is either a bonus to your stats or a skill bonus, like essentially it unlocks a skill for you to be able to use and makes it cheaper. The skill levels basically means that, so instead of being one level of skill discount, which is usually, depending on the skill, is either 5% or 10%, she gets free levels, which is 15 to 30% discount. It maxes out at 40% discount. And hint frequency just means how often, so it increases the chances of her giving hints. The other reason she's good is, so every support card has a bunch of skills they give, or some actually don't, but they're special ones, right? So she gives decent skills, she gives, it's just basically all her skills are pretty generic. I think the only ones that aren't is she has, so basically corner adept, corner recovery, straight recovery, focus, and all generic skills. Extra tank is a long skill, long corner is a long skill, and front runner, straightaways, and dodging danger is just for front runners specifically. And then you also have career events, which can also give skills. So you usually give stats, but they can also give skills. So one of them just gives straightaway adept. But one what's important is this is her basically each. They usually have like essentially an event line or an event tree, which will have usually 2 to 3 events that have to happen in sequence. And the last one will usually give a rare skill. In her case, is Professor of Curvature. This is another reason you want her, basically. So she's just good. And so she's going to be very helpful. So what we're going to do now is we're going to pick our other things. So I'm not going to use any of these maxed out support cards because a new player won't have access to them. But that also, the one reason why like having a lot of different ones can be very helpful is because of the skills they give, right? For example, Manhattan Cafe gives a lot of things will actually apply to Long, and then she has very good skill bonus. She has for good frequent like hint levels, so she gives like 3 points in her hints. Yeah, so you can tailor your support cards based on the skills they give, and you tailor them to the horse you're training, so that all the skills we give will be beneficial to the horse you're training. So obviously you want a lot of generic skills, but I think there's also specific ones that will be very helpful. But what makes like specific cards really good is not only they give good skills, they also have good bonuses. They might have good priority and good hint levels and stuff like that, but they also have good events. For example, what is she called? Elshin Flash. Basically, she's really good because she gives you max energy. Basically, she gives you her first, like on her career event train, her first one gives you 10 energy and 4 max energy, which add up, which isn't actually that common. And generally, any event that gives you energy is a good event. Another thing what I actually like about her, she skill-wise, she's most of her, like she has one generic skill that's good, one generic skill which is situationally generic skill, and her other 3 skills are all late surge skills. Right, so she's very good like for late surges, but then she also just gives lots of energy. And also she gets her hint levels like very early on as well. I don't know what level she gets it at, but if I mined for a very long time, not a very long time, for a decent amount of time, was basically only level break 1, so she's basically level 35. It was level 30, maybe level 30 actually. And she's still giving me like the really good hint levels. So what we're going to do is we're running vodka, right? So outside of career mode, for us wanting to use it in like whether it's daily races or your team trials and stuff, you essentially want to. She's a late surger who runs medium and mile races. So we want to tailor our skills from our support cards towards late surges, and we also want a heavy focus on speed because most of her races are going to be miles, which we can actually check. We go back to the start here, we can go create info, and then we can look. So her first race she runs is a mile. Oh shit. Yeah, I think this is a mile. She does another mile. Yes, one medium race. Another medium. A long race she only has to run in. She doesn't have to place, so you can come last and it's fine. I think it's mile. I think that's a medium. She finished up on a medium. So what I'd normally do, if all she was running was miles or sprints, I'd probably go 5 speeds and 1 wit, or support cards wise, but because she does need to run some mediums, we'll probably go 1 stamina. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to use the silvers. In my opinion, you should never, ever level these up. Don't spend skill points leveling them up. In my opinion, like if you had a bajillion skill points and you had nothing to do with them, just do it because it gives you bonuses for your team trials. But normally I wouldn't do it. If you have to use them, just use them at level 1, it's fine. You'll still get the seal hands and stuff. What we want to do, we need to find a flash. So if we go to Ocean Flash, right? It still gives the same skills. Technically, yeah, that's still the same skill hints. I think that might be the same as well, actually. She might not see it as many. I could. So with the silver ones, they don't get a unique perk like everything else, which at a certain level they just get bonuses. And I don't think they get the full career lines. If we looked at, is there a Citizen Black? I'm not sure if there is. It's probably a Super Creek, right? It is a Super Creek. Yeah. Yeah, so she doesn't give Swing Maestro, which is one of the reasons you usually play it. But what we're going to do, we'll take Flash because she's good for late surges, right? Normally for good wit support cards, which aren't actually, which are just SR ones, Agnes Tachyon is pretty good, as she does have a decent special priority. Another really good one is Sweep, as her stats are almost better than Citizen Black. Like special priority wise, she's really, really good. She just doesn't give she doesn't have any skill, like she doesn't have any hint bonuses basically, which is a downside. And she gives some decent skills. But obviously we're not using that, right? We want 4 speeds. So all we're going to do now is basically just look at everyone and find out what we do. Like skill wise, right? That's front runner. Her style's still front runner. You can also run the non-horse skills. So that, for example, this skill has a special link with the current scenario, like the current career scenario. It gives you extra stuff, but these usually they don't give you the training bonuses, but they do give you extra events you can use to recover like energy and stuff. It's actually kind of useful in certain situations, right? So what we're going to do, we'll just go. Those aren't actually that bad either, to be honest. We'll just take that. And then we've got Krasinski. Mile corners, early lead front runner, mile. Okay, she's pretty good for mile, so we'll use her. And ooh, you should be good for miles, right? Mile straightaways, ace chaser, mile. Yeah, we use Tiger Shuttle as well. Okay. So here we go. Obviously, this won't be as good as if you actually level them up, and if you do have, once you get into it, you should have. Oh my goodness, you probably have maybe 1 or 2 SSRs, and you should have a decent number of SRs as well, as each temple is guaranteed 1. So you basically do the same thing. I think the golds and rainbows are worth leveling up. Just level them up, like find the ones that are most useful for you at the time, like especially if ones are seem good generically. Level those up first, just yeah. Another thing you can do is if you watch this, like read the story, you get access to it's free. You get I've only got 2 unlocked, the standard ones. You get Majora McQueen, who is basically kind of longish. Yeah, she's very long and pace chaser focused. But essentially what happens is you get the first one for free from an event. Then you can spend 100 club points for the second copy, 900 for the third copy, then it's 2,000 for the 4th copy, and I don't know how much the 5th copy is, I haven't actually gotten any 5ths. Then you have Majora McQueen, and you also can get the second lot of story. You get Rice Shower, who's very pace tracer heavy as well as very debuff heavy, which isn't something you want to think about early on until you've got much better skills. But if you need good stamina's, both of these can be pretty good. So if instead of vodka we're doing like Dallas Scarlet, I'd probably just use McQueen because she's actually easy to use and get. there's a third one. I can't remember who she is or what she is. I think she might be strength. And also just to quickly go over what you do. If we do on one stamina, we'll change Teo to, who do we want to use? You're going to be the same, right? Yeah. You have front runner stuff. Front runner, that's not. It's just that's kind of generic. We'll do Top Gun. Everyone likes Top Gun. Right, so my recommendation is if you're running sprint, you essentially want either 6 speeds or 5 speeds, 1 width. Miles, you'd probably get away with the same. Mediums, you want 1 stamina and 5 speeds or 1 width. And longs, you typically probably need to experiment a bit, but usually probably like 2 staminas, 1 width, 3 speeds. Obviously, once you get good like legacy supports, you probably don't need anywhere near as much. So you can start sacrificing some speeds for other things. But even then, like, you don't really need to run powers, because once you're like maxed out on speed, you're still getting more power from your speed trainings than anything else. But yeah, so we'll just get started, right? We'll start career. And one thing to do is you get a maximum 100 TP, and it recovers pretty fast. By the time you finish the career, you'll probably get at least 15 back. And you can get more, there's like boosters to give you more as well. But usually I'd say for my recommendation is, unless there's an event on, just try to do 1 career a day, and that's what we're really worried about. If there's an event, you'll probably, that's when you'll start using your extra TP stuff just to grind up the points. Okay, so I was originally planning to make both the start of the career and then the going through the career as one whole video, but after I'd finished editing it, it ended up being 1 hour and 20 minutes long, which is a wee bit too long, I think. So I am splitting it up into 2. So there'll be another video which basically is me going through a career playthrough, technically 2, until we succeed. But yeah, if you liked this video, leave us a like and subscribe, and also leave any comments and questions below if you have any, or if you have any questions, I guess. Yeah, I'll see you guys all next time. Thank you for coming.